I'm Erin Burke with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio, and today I am speaking with Denver Bierman. He is the spokesperson and frontman for Denver and the Mile High Orchestra, heretofore known as DMHO. So this DMHO is the featured act for Rocking M's Christmas concert. And this is part of the Christmas in Colby weekend. It's taking place on Friday, December the 2nd. That's December the 2nd at 7 p.m. Doors are opening at 5. So, Denver, thank you so much for joining us here today. And can you, before we really delve into the questions, can you provide viewers and listeners with a brief synopsis of who you are and what DMHO is all about?
Absolutely. Denver and the Mile High Orchestra is a big band that's based out of Nashville, Tennessee. We've been around for 23 years. We all started in college together, and so we do horn band music, a variety of things that might sound a little bit like Frank Sinatra or Michael Bublé. We do a bunch of like horn band music, like from the acts of like Chicago, Earth, Wind and Fire, along with a bunch of original music that I've written over the years. So if it has horns, we play it. I don't really do polka, although I probably would if I had an accordion player. But I absolutely love big band music. It's been my passion of mine, and I've been doing this over half my lifetime now, professionally, and it's been such a blessing and such a joy.
So it's always been big band then? That wasn't a progression?
No. I mean, I was a trumpet player. I started playing trumpet in 6th grade and fell in love. That was my first love. Long before I ever went on a date with a girl. I loved the trumpet and decided to major in music in college. And my mom, who is a musician, she said, Denver, if you're going to go to college and major in music, I'm going to make sure you learn how to sing. So her requirement was that I would take some vocal lessons. Didn't know how much that was going to radically transform my life. But when I was at college, I took a bunch of composition and arranging classes, learning how to write a lot of things. I always heard music in my mind and in my head. Didn't quite know how to translate that on paper or to tell other people how to do it, but that's what college did. I went to a school called Belmont University in Nashville, which is a really renowned music school there, and met a bunch of other band geeks just like me. And we started a group mostly for fun to play out on some of these arrangements that I was actually writing for some of my classroom assignments. And we would go out and find some venues to be able to play those in. And one thing led to another, and before we knew it, we were at the end of my senior year in a showcase at the Ryman Auditorium and got a standing ovation. I went back to college, back to my classes the next day. And by about 11:30 in the morning, I came back to my dorm room for lunch, and there were 2 or 3 record labels that had called my college dorm room answering machine. And I'd love to say that it was, they all lived happily ever after, but it started a wild journey that, has lasted now 23 years and given us the chance to travel all over the world. I think we've traveled and played in, I don't know, maybe like 8 or 9 different countries and sold tons of records and had the chance to sing to millions of folks. So we're really grateful.
Well, it seems like you're doing exactly what you love to do. I mean, that in and of itself is very inspirational. So
absolutely.
Congratulations on that.
I'm very, very grateful.
So how many members comprise your group?
It's usually about 10 to 12, depending on the show. We've been playing together for such a long time, but we have bass, drums, guitar. We have trumpet players, trombones, saxophones. I sing. So it's quite a variety, and it's a large group. You have to have a lot of people in order to get that very timeless, classic big band sound. So it's a large group on stage, but it's very high energy. The guys have a lot of personality. We make our shows very entertaining, very funny, very fun, but also very heartfelt and genuine. And there's usually, what I found really one of the most interesting things about DMHO is that we have so many multi-generational families that come. We'll have grandparents that grew up on this kind of music that come. We have their children and their grandchildren coming. And each demographic has, maybe a different favorite song or a different favorite style that we do. But I think that because we do such a wide variety, there's a little bit of something for everybody. And everybody ends up having a really great time together. And there's not many concert events that really, truly multi-generational families can all go together. I mean, we're so fragmented now in the culture we're living in and the kind of music that we listen to. For whatever reason, this band has been able to transcend some of that, and that's been really fun as well.
So now, are all the members of your group, are they all the original members from when you started this group?
No, I mean, when we started, I was 21 and, a lot of them were 18, 19. I keep in touch with almost every single, I keep in touch with every single original member of our group. I still have 2 or 3 guys that have been with me literally since the very first day, 23 years ago.
Okay.
A lot of the guys have been with me 18, 19, 20 years. They kind of came on in the second generation. And then we've got a couple guys that have been playing with me about maybe 4 or 5. So there's a little bit of variety, but, considering most bands stick together for maybe 3 or 4 years, I'd say we've been together for a very long time.
Yeah, you've set a pretty high bar. Okay, so to what do you attribute that level of retention with that size of a group?
I think as much as we could throughout all the years, we've really tried to consider this like a family. We always call it a family. If someone new starts playing a bunch of shows, we say, hey, you're in the family. And what that means is families don't always, get along, right? Like there can be splits and arguments, and there can be schedule conflicts. I think that the biggest reason why it's worked is because I've really tried to be as flexible with everybody, because everybody has a life, everybody has a family, everybody has other groups that they sometimes play with and other responsibilities. Some of them have other part-time jobs, and so I think because I've been able to be very flexible with them, they've enjoyed staying around. They've enjoyed making this something that could be a priority to them and something that they can be a part of for years and years and years. And it really has bonded us together as a family. Each and every one of these guys, I've lived so much life with, all the good, bad, and ugly of life. And there's a powerful love and a powerful bond there that, that I think a lot of bands probably don't experience. But we've been very grateful to be able to experience that together.
And still be together after it's all said and done.
Yeah, I feel like a dinosaur sometimes. I mean, I'm 45. I feel very young as a person, but I feel like a dinosaur as an artist, I mean, so many of the bands and my other friends that started in on this industry when I first started, I mean, a lot of them have been done for 15 years now. So it's like, it's been a wild ride to have lasted this long. And another part of that was just because I've really enjoyed it, and I've still had a lot of vision. I'm still writing a lot of music. We're currently recording our 18th album right now. Okay. So that's really, really cool. And I think there's some more fun days to come as well.
I was just going to ask you, do you know the name of your album yet?
We're still kicking around the title. I think it's going to be called One Hope. And the reason for that is because, in the last couple of years, this world's kind of been turned upside down. I mean, if any of your listeners are hearing my voice right now and they reflect on the last 2.5 years of life, they probably never experienced another 2.5 years of life on planet Earth like it. And so it has caused all kinds of things. There's been great things that have come out of this time in this season, but it's also caused a lot of stress, distress, confusion in people's lives, a lot of hardship. And I think now more than ever in our day and in our culture, people are looking for where they can find hope. Find hope for the next season of their life. Find hope for the days beyond what we've been experiencing. And so I'm writing an album that's just full of hope for people that could probably, hopefully encourage them as they're going through their day-to-day and as they're traveling into the next season that life might hold for them as well.
Okay. I read in an article when I was doing my research on you, you have a Wikipedia page, by the way. I'm sure you know that. I know. You've made it. You've officially arrived since you have a Wikipedia page.
Oh, okay.
I read that Harry Connick Jr. is one of your great influences. Is that true?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Have you met him?
I have.
Because he's one of mine too. I love Harry Connick Jr.
Absolutely. Yeah, I, when I was a sophomore in high school, when I really started to wonder if I could maybe do music someday, I fell in love with this album he had called Red Light, Blue Light. It had come out just a couple years prior, and it was a big band album, and it just entranced me. I memorized the whole album. I could still sing every word and play my horn to every single song on that album. And so over the years, I just, got every last little bit that Harry has done. He's an incredible, I call him a Renaissance man. We used to have a lot of folks in the entertainment world back in the 40s and 50s, especially, that did so many great things well. They were great singers, they were great actors, they were great dancers. They were great performers. They were great musicians. And over the years, we've seen less and less of that, where people have become much more specific and centric on a particular style of entertainment or the arts. But Harry's one of those guys that really, truly is so crazy talented at almost anything he touches. I mean, he's, won awards on Broadway for his performances there. He's been a movie star. He's, an incredible musician. When you hear him play the piano, it is absolutely jaw-dropping. He's a great writer and arranger. He arranges all the music that he records. There are very few artists that do that. That inspired me to go out and orchestrate and arrange all my songs as well. So to say he's an influence and a hero of mine is an understatement. The funny thing is, when I met him, we were on the same booking agency at the time, Creative Artists Agency, CAA, and my local agent here in Nashville, Jeff Gregg, had given me these backstage passes to a Christmas concert that Harry was doing. I had literally gotten in town for my own Christmas tour that very day. I was exhausted on like 17 shows, but I was going to get to go to the Grand Ole Opry House and see Harry do a Christmas show, and it was awesome. And so there was only like 4 of us that had backstage passes. And so he came out, and I was so nervous. This is how crazy it was. I was so nervous about meeting him. That I couldn't even tell him that I was a musician. I couldn't even tell him that I'd had a big band at that time for like 17 years, and that he was probably the single greatest inspiration of all of it. I just looked at the man, and I tried not to, have to immediately use the restroom. And I just said, Harry, I want you to know, you have no idea how much your music has meant to me. And that's all I could say without looking like an idiot. I have played for a lot of celebrity. I mean, I don't get starstruck. I mean, I was on tour with Kelly Clarkson for a real long time. I don't get intimidated or weirded out by meeting people, but he was my hero. It was different. And so he said, okay. He's like, do you want a picture? I'm like, like, the whole 9 yards. It was pretty funny. Pretty funny.
Have you ever had the chance to collaborate with him? I'm assuming you would have told me, but I thought I'd ask.
No, I haven't. But I've had dreams of it. I mean, everybody dreams of that kind of stuff, right? I've dreamt that I'm on stage singing a duet with him, with a big band backing us up. So in my dreams, there you go.
All right. So when you were on the Next Great American Band, what opportunities arose because of it? That's what I was trying to say.
Oh yeah, I mean, all kinds of opportunities. We were all of a sudden thrust on a show that was being, on Fox television to millions of people, and it really gave us a kind of a breath of fresh air in our fan base. We'd been around for about 8 years at that time, and there are so many opportunities, not just from an artist standpoint, but also from like getting opportunities to go play for very large corporate events. Our band has a lot of flexibility in the musicality that we have. The guys are so talented. And I didn't even know that world even existed. Financially, that was so helpful for us. Helped us develop a lot of fans over the years as we got into more of the fundraising world, the corporate world, nonprofit world, where we could come in and give folks a really classy, a little bit more higher end experience, and was really, really beneficial for our career. And also helped kickstart our fan base that we already had. They were really proud of us, and the band made it all the way to the very final show. We were in the finale. We were the top 3. And that's really just a really huge testament to our great fans that have been so faithful and loyal to us throughout the years. I just wish Harry had been one of the judges. It wasn't more than maybe 3 or 4 years after that. And then he became a judge on American Idol. And I was like, man, why couldn't he have been a judge on the Battle of the Bands show? Our show was done by the producers of American Idol, and got to know some of the executive producers on that show, and they were fantastic to get to know and see how the whole American Idol experience works. It was really interesting.
Good. Okay, so in what ways does working outside the band now and again beneficial? Because you spoke earlier about people having side gigs. Do you have side gigs, and how does that work?
If you're a musician full time in this culture that we're living in, you wear a lot of different hats. And so I started when I was very young, because the band, we were independent. One of the record labels pursued us really hard, that called me on that college dorm room answering machine, and I hired one of the biggest lawyers in entertainment in musical entertainment in Nashville. Went through a 53-page record contract over about 3.5 months. And then the president of label had been calling me every day saying, "Hey, Denver, we've got to get this signed. We're spending $36,000 to put you on this arena tour with these other artists. And, we've got to finish the album and blah, 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 blah." And so when I called him and said, Randy finally said the deal's good. For a rookie deal, it's as good as it's going to be. I'm ready to sign. And he didn't call me back for 3 days. It was so weird. And then he called me at 6:30 in the morning. I'll never forget it. I was lacing up my shoes. I do a lot of running, and kind of keeps me sane. And I try to stay in shape. I'm from the Midwest, and I really like to eat. So, anyways, he called at 6:30 in the morning and said, "You're going to hear about it on the news tonight. But we closed our doors as of yesterday, and we owe millions." And he just said, "I think you're really talented, and I hope you have, I hope you have a best of luck." And then it was click, and it was weird because I had quit my full-time job. I had guys that had dropped out of college to go along the road, and it was pretty devastating. So from that moment on, we stayed independent for the most part, and so in order to do that, you're always finding opportunities, especially to be able to grow the brand of the group, but also to be able to just make great music. So I've done a ton of session work here in Nashville for the last 20 years as a choral singer for demos of choral music. I was a really good sight reader from playing the trumpet, and some folks gave me a chance to be able to do that for the last 20 years. I've traveled, like I said, I traveled with Kelly for a long time. So I've worked with some other artists as either like a background singer or as a trumpet player. And I've done a couple of tours with, headlining artists where they've had our band be an opening act or be one of the fellow headliners of a couple of tours. So there's a lot of different things I've done over the years. And anytime you do that, what I found in my life, and this is, I think, really helpful for anybody, it doesn't matter what kind of job you have, but especially as I've gotten older, I've tried to keep myself teachable, tried to keep myself open in my mind to learning. Sometimes when we get older, it can be easier to just kind of get set in our ways and go, this is the way it is, and this is the way it's always going to be. But the problem is life doesn't do that to us. Life is always evolving, and life is always molding. And I think one of the reasons DMHO is still around is because while we were able to keep some of the things that are very important to us at the core of who we are, we've also evolved as things have evolved. And if we don't, then we wouldn't be doing it. So I've tried to keep myself teachable. And as I've gone into different entertainment experiences, it's given me the chance to learn and to glean and to grow from some of the things I've experienced in those places. Some of those things don't always work for what I do, but some of them do. And that's been really, really helpful.
Do you still consider yourself a band geek?
Oh, yeah, I do now, because I redesigned the trumpet. That doesn't get any more geekier than that. So I started playing again on much heavier level than I had during the pandemic. And I just kind of fell in love with my instrument. Then I started running into some of the same issues that I had run into when I used to practice really heavily in college, and got real frustrated with the horn in a way. And I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And so in the last 2 years, I've dug into so much physics and science and study of vibration and overtones and the sound spectrum in itself. And I redesigned the trumpet. The trumpets that I'll be playing in Kansas with you guys at Christmas time are ones that I designed and helped build. I've made 5 prototypes now. So, I've completely geeked out in every way, shape, and form. It's been kind of fun.
Well, I like it. I like that you own it. That's kind of awesome. So I've watched a lot of your videos, and what I've noticed, there's a common denominator in everyone. You have a very special capacity to connect with your audience. What's your secret?
I don't think I knew in the beginning probably what it was, and if you'd seen early videos of us, you probably wouldn't make that comment. But I would think more than anything, it's just trying to be the most, the clearest version of yourself that you can be, to be as genuine as you can be. In life, we're always trying to find ways to, make ourselves interesting in a way to others. When you look at social media and you look at how we're almost demanded to have a voice and an opinion, and everybody's talking, which usually means that nobody's really listening. What I've found, if I have 5 seconds with somebody, I want to make sure that those moments matter, because mostly all we get are 5 to 10 seconds. And I think I've tried to be as genuine and as vulnerable as I can be about my own life. And I think because of that, I think a lot of people can relate to me, relate to my life, relate to some of my story. And I think that that's probably what it is. We as humans, I've done a lot of psychology kind of study as well. We as humans will always be gravitated to what is real. And we don't often even know why we don't like something that we see on TV, or we don't often even know why we listen to a song and doesn't interest us, or we don't buy it in a way. But we have this inner radar in us. You call it the human radar, I don't know, to be able to really sense when something's real. When that person that's singing that song has either lived the lyric of that song, they've lived that life, or they're in that life. And that's what we call being legit. It's what we call being effective and being real. And I think that I've tried, as I've gotten older, to be more like that. And I think people do connect with it, because they may not even know why, but what they're sensing is hopefully some genuineness, whether it's in the kind of music that I make, or if it's in the kinds of things that I say, some of the things that I sing about, that they can relate to it.
So is your appearance in Colby, is that part of a larger tour, or are you making a special trip just for us?
Well, I mean, it's always a special trip to go to Colby, Kansas, but it is part of a larger tour. We do a very large Christmas tour every single year. This year it's called the Merry and Bright Tour, and it's super fun. And so it is going to be one of those really unique stops. I've been in a lot of different places in Kansas. I've never been to Colby before. And so it's very, very special for me and for the band, because we've never performed in 23 years there. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, we are very excited, and I found out right before we jumped on this interview that some of the local school bands are going to be playing with DMHO.
Good. So, we do that a lot. We've had a program now for 14 years called DMHOU. That's what we call it. And it's just where we do a lot of clinics, and we do, one of the things we've realized too over the years as we've gotten older is we've been blessed with a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experience that we can at least try to pass on some traits and some different things that we've learned along the way to other people that, number one, just enjoy playing music. Number two, might have some kind of an aspiration within the music career. Boy, I would have loved to have had something like that where I grew up. I liked music a lot, but I lived in a very small place in northern Indiana and didn't really get exposed to a lot of opportunities to professional musicians in that venue every once in a while. But if we can be like that for somebody else, and encourage them in their own lives, and also encourage them in their musical journey, then I want to do that. So we do a lot of events with a lot of folks that are either at high schools or churches or colleges that play music or sing, and we'll have these folks join us. I mean, the more the merrier. I'm all about it. It's going to be really exciting to have them there with us there in Colby in December.
Okay, well, I think you're going to make a lasting impression on a lot of kids, and you're probably going to end up being somebody's Harry. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I know there's one kid in Wisconsin. His name is Denver. And I know he was named after me because his parents met at one of my concerts and eventually started dating, fell in love, and had a family. And so they named their son after me because they met at a Denver show. So maybe I could be somebody's Harry. Who knows? Okay.
So now what can Northwestern Kansas expect at the DMHO Christmas concert this December?
They're going to expect a really, really fun evening. They're going to expect to hear a bunch of classic, timeless Christmas music that they've grown up hearing from people like Bing Crosby or Frank Sinatra or Nat King Cole. There will be probably a guest appearance from probably Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer or Frosty the Snowman or something like that. And then they're going to get to hear some of my original music that I've written as well about Christmas. Christmas is it's a very special time of the year. And so we love to be able to celebrate the holidays and be a little bit of nostalgia, but with a lot of energy.
Excellent. So what does Christmas at the Bierman household look like? I am so curious about that.
Boy, Christmas at the Bierman house means a lot of lights. I don't know if you would call it redneck or what, but
like Clark Griswold type of light. Is that what we're talking here?
I think I'm beyond Griswold. The last 2 or 3 years, our house has been one of maybe like 10 or 15 homes. I live in a town called Hendersonville, which is where Johnny Cash lived, and the Oak Ridge Boys are here. It's like a lot of the older country artists are in Hendersonville. It's about 16 miles north of Nashville. But the last 2 or 3 years, our house has been on what we call the House of Lights tour of Hendersonville. There's like 15 homes that people are like, you've got to see this one. That's our house. I committed that I won't start putting up Christmas lights until November 1st. And the reason I have to put them all up in November is just because I'm gone all of December touring. So for me to kind of get the lights out and enjoy them, it's usually the very beginning of November. But it's crazy. I mean, I have a snowman that sings the blues.
Of course you do.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of lights that we have up at the house. And so, my wife's in charge of decorating the inside of the house. This particular Christmas tree that is behind me is actually been up all year. We just never even took it down. So we do like Christmas a lot. Yeah, just dust it off in March and in June, and then maybe in October, you're great. You're good to go.
Right, just vacuum it a little bit.
Right, but the outside is definitely mine, and it's crazy. And I have to do one crazy new thing every year, and I don't know what this year's is going to be.
Okay, all right. Do the neighbors have special blackout curtains? Just for Christmas.
It's really weird because we're like on this little cul-de-sac, and I think two of the neighbors I think don't mind it. I think a couple of the neighbors are really annoyed at the traffic that comes, but at least I'm not using. In the earlier days, I would have music playing like on speakers and stuff like that outdoors. Last year we got it set up so that the music is tuned to the FM frequency, so it gets a little more quiet. So
okay, all right. Well, you're adapting.
Yeah, we're growing, baby steps.
Well, exactly. So now, does your band have a group Christmas together, and do you rent out an airplane hangar for it?
No, we really don't. I think for us, because we have usually sometimes 15, 16, 18 Christmas concerts from Thanksgiving till Christmas, usually we end around 21st, 22nd. I mean, we have celebrated Christmas almost 20 times as a group. We get fed holiday food almost everywhere we go. So I think by the time the tour, we're all like, Happy New Year. See you either New Year's Eve or in the New Year. We've celebrated.
See you next year.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how it goes. Now, we usually have at least one Christmas concert in Nashville a year. So that gives our families the chance to come on out and to actually be a part of what we're, celebrating as a group. In the other states and the other places where we're headed every year.
Okay.
That I could say that is our airport hangars. Usually some kind of a stage where there's a whole bunch of locals. We don't do many concerts in Nashville. Maybe probably 2 of them a year, and so it makes it real special for us to be able to do something at Christmas. I'm actually going to be talking to somebody tomorrow about where we're going to be doing our Christmas show this year. So
okay, excellent. Yeah. So is Denver a stage name, or is that your given name?
It's my real name. It's on the birth certificate. I have weird parents. My son's name is Boston. My daughter's name is London.
Okay.
Those are real names. My wife's name is Amy, so she's mostly normal. And that's us. That's where it is.
Okay, I was actually going to ask if your parents were hippies, because Bohemian Offspring have the best names. And Denver's a great name.
My dad was probably more of a hippie than my mom. My mom's just a sweet, very lively woman. So I guess we'll just leave it at that.
Okay. All right. And so my final question for you. Have you ever had a Sasquatch or a Santa Claus sighting?
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I love the heavy hitting one for last.
Yeah, you did. I've had Santa Claus sightings. I had one when I was 6 years old. On Christmas Eve, my dad was actually reading to us. It was the night before Christmas, and there was a knock on the door, and Santa Claus was there, and he gave me a Christmas gift. So that blew me away.
I can see that.
Did not believe that. That was crazy magical. As far as the Sasquatch, no, I have watched a couple documentaries about it. It's amazing to me how many different places, not just in the United States, but around the world, have these legends and also these sightings of these particular animals. So it's hard to think that there's not something out there. There's something everybody's seeing. What it exactly is, who knows? Maybe it's Santa Claus all dressed up as a Sasquatch.
It could be. It could be. Or the
You
Blair.
never know.
You never know. Or the Blair Witch in like this weird fur costume. Who
That's
knows?
right. It's winter. Maybe, I don't know.
Right. Well, Denver, thank you so very much for taking time to speak with me today. I really appreciate it. And we very much look forward to your Christmas concert, because just based on what I've seen on the YouTube videos, it is going to be high energy and a lot of fun. So, and I love big band. Love big band.
Awesome. Yeah, it's the time of it's that, the most wonderful time of the year is made for big band music. Whenever you think or you listen to Christmas music, most of it was recorded in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s.
Right.
And it's big band. And so that is our time to shine, and we shine it as brightly as we can.
Okay, excellent. Well, we look forward to seeing you. So I guess I will sign off for now, but I'm Erin Burke with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio, and I have been talking with Denver Bierman. He is the spokesman and frontman for Denver and the Mile High Orchestra. Denver, we will see you in December.
Merry Christmas early, and we can't wait to see you soon.
Okay, excellent. See you soon.
It's the happiest season of all.